All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Good Life Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Blakely, and I am pleased to be joined by Cory Morris of Gary Michaels, Clothier.
Good morning.
So if you have listened to the show in the past, you may recognize Cory's name and his voice from our prior episode. He has a bookkeeping business, but I'm really excited to sit down with him today to talk about his new business. So we'll get into that here in a little bit, but first, same questions as we always do. Cory, what books are you reading or listening to right now?
So I'm just reading books right now. I have a lot less time to, I'm just reading books. I have a lot less time to listen to books. I'm reading Becoming Trader Joe right now is the book I'm reading.
Okay.
And The Three Musketeers, the original by Alexandre Dumas.
Okay.
Those are two books I'm reading.
What's the Trader Joe book?
So it's about Trader Joe's, which is a grocery store chain out west.
Yeah.
And it's just talking about how he became Trader Joe's.
Okay.
So since buying this, I've been studying a lot of famous retailers. So I read Sam Walton's book. I read David Green's book for Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
Some of Jeff Bezos' stuff, and then I found this Trader Joe one. So I'm reading that one, and it's just fascinating to learn about how everybody does the retail side so differently.
Yeah. Very cool. Interesting. How about podcasts?
So podcasts that I'm listening to is a lot fewer. Art of Manliness is one that I've listened to for like 12 years, 13 years. It's
Okay.
The only podcast I've consistently listened to forever because he just covers everything. And then some accounting podcasts, and then this podcast. That's about it, actually.
Got it. The Art of Manliness. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah, he was a law student, got into what is it like to be a man and what does it mean to be a man, and it covers everything from Greek mythology to ethics to widows. I mean, it's everything. Widowers. It's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. I'll have to look that one up. That's the reason I asked that question, is because I'm selfish and I want to have some new podcasts. So, all right. I know the backstory of this a little bit, but I'm really excited for you to share how this came to be. Gary Michaels has been here in Kearney for quite a while, but just kind of walk us through how it came to be that you are now the owner.
Yeah, so Gary Michaels, as you pointed out, has been here about 13 years now. The original was in Hastings, and I don't know if that's 40 years, but it's a long time. And then there's a Gary Michaels in Lincoln, and that one I think is 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
We all work together, we all support each other, but we are all independent businesses. So my struggle has been that I don't like shopping. I want to just, especially for clothes, I want to find a pair of pants or a shirt that I like, and I know the brand, and I can just always go get it, and it's a lot simpler. And I've really struggled to find that until I started working here at buying from Gary Michaels. And in February, I walked in on a Saturday to get a pullover, and I just had a strong feeling like, you should buy this business. And and so I thought about that, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I went home and told my wife, hey, if I have a midlife crisis, we're gonna buy Gary Michaels downtown. And my wife's awesome. She says, okay, because I say things like that.
Better than a motorcycle, probably, is what she's thinking.
Yep. She won't let me buy a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So we came in the following Monday, and I talked with Sharon. So people may know Sharon if they come here. And I said, hey, if they're ever interested in selling, I'd be interested in buying. Again, I'm still thinking midlife crisis. I've got a lot of thoughts, but midlife crisis. And she says, actually, they just decided over the weekend that they are going to sell it. Wow. And they're looking for buyers. And so I talked with them. We ended up going to market with them that week. Just crazy turn of that was February, and we bought it June 1st. So we're now a month into owning it.
Yeah.
And having a ton of fun. But that's kind of in a nutshell what happened.
She had to have been just as surprised as you were when you walked in and said that. When you got the response from her, she had to be just as surprised.
Yeah, she says, I think I'm the only one who knows it.
Wow.
And then when I talked to Tammy and Tricia, the owners, and Tammy says, this is just an answer to prayers. We want somebody local. So it's a cool story. It's been fun. They've been awesome. Gary Novotny in Lincoln has been awesome support. So it's been a fun couple months.
Yeah. So you've had time. You have plenty of runway to think about this. Probably longer than you would have liked as you got into it. But kind of talk about what you're doing here. Talk about changes that you've made, things that you're looking to bring in. I can tell just from being in here, the look is a lot different, and we've had conversations about, the different things that you're trying to bring to the Kearney area and a lot. So just talk about that a little bit. What are you excited about here?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did in the very beginning, and we have mixed feelings about it in the community, is we got rid of the women's clothing.
Okay.
And Tammy and Trish actually did that before we took over. But it was important because it took up so much space that it took up probably half the store, so we couldn't do as much men's clothing, and then there wasn't enough to really justify for women. I mean, there wasn't enough here to bring them in. The Hastings store has a massive women's section, so we took women's out, and that opened up a lot of opportunities. Some of the things that we're trying to do is really more around education. So for instance, we sell dress pants that are unhemmed. So if you buy blue jeans from the Buckle, they're unhemmed and they'll hem them to you. Well, dress pants are the same way. And so for like the high school or the middle school, we've got those kids are growing so fast. Mm-hmm. I have 5 kids, as you know, 3 boys, and they just, in 1 year, you may have to buy new clothes 3 times.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm trying to figure out how to get into the community is the idea that for those kids, they can buy pants once. It's a more expensive pair of dress pants, but not much. Mm-hmm. And then as that kid grows, we can just adjust the pants to fit the kid, and you're not having to buy new pants because they don't wear out, they grow out of them.
Right. Yeah.
So that's one thing we're trying to get out. Another thing that we ran into is a lot of folks are coming in for prom, junior prom especially, and they're wanting to rent tuxedos, which is fine. We're happy to do that. Mm-hmm. But then they're coming back in 3 or 4 months later to buy a suit for senior pictures and for college interviews and all that stuff. And so trying to work on that education of you're going to be money ahead buying a suit than necessarily renting that junior year. So those are some of the things we're trying to get out. The other big one is just the importance of, we've gone more casual as a society, especially after COVID, but you still get a lot more credibility if you're dressed well. And so working with guys to figure out how they can fit in their style, but dress well, to dress to impress for dating, interviews, all kinds of stuff. It just pays to be able to look good.
Yeah. It's just a good idea for a guy to have at least one good suit.
Yep. You're going to need
probably 2, like a black and a blue one or whatever, but it's just a good idea to have one good suit that fits, whether it be for a job interview or a formal event or a funeral or whatever it is. It's just a good idea.
It's a good idea. And if guys have suits that they bought 5-10 years ago and they're too tight now, or maybe they've lost weight, they can bring them in and we can tailor them to fit. You don't have to buy a new suit. If it was a good suit when you bought it, we can generally adjust it. And that is one thing too, that just the difference in quality. If you buy a really good suit, it's going to last a long time, and we can adjust the fit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I'm curious to know, because you had a business before that you ran pretty much from home, and it was a lot of, it's just a different business.
Totally different.
How has first question, what have you taken from the business that you already had and brought it into this business? And then what are some of the challenges maybe that you didn't foresee that you've had to kind of pivot and adjust to?
Yeah, so my bookkeeping business, as you know, is virtual. And so I'm very much, as I've worked with business owners, trying to help them to systematize and have software do as much as possible, make it simpler. So time clocks and timekeeping and payroll, I don't do it in my bookkeeping business. I outsource it to a company called Gusto, and we should put that in the notes. And they handle all of that. So my staff comes in, I'm able to pay them weekly, very, very simply. They come in, they clock in, they can clock in from their phone, they can clock in from the kiosk. I review the minutes or the hours on Monday morning, and I run payroll. It probably takes me 5 minutes to run payroll, to check hours, and then I'm done. The Gusto takes care of all that stuff. And that's such a huge, with my own personal business, it didn't matter that much because it's basically just me.
Right.
But having employees, having time clocks and schedules, thinking about trying to do it manually gives me the heebie-jeebies. I just
Yeah.
don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that was a big one. And then integrating my accounting system with our point of sale. I looked for a point of sale that would integrate well. So 2 days after the close, after the end of the month, I can look at the overall picture of the business. So that's been helpful. But most of it's just around the focus of systematizing.
Mm-hmm.
Has really helped me. I knew what I needed with the state and with the city and just all that. The surprising thing is my bookkeeping business is very capital light. And I was totally unknown. Mm-hmm. So I had an initial investment and then I never had to put more money into it. The business generates cash and I can screw up on my website or whatever. And very few people see it.
Right.
It doesn't matter. This business is an established business. And so there is an expectation within the community of what this business is like. Mm-hmm. And so I need to live up to that expectation. And so my mistakes have to be very different. Mm-hmm. And my capital investment is totally different. Having to buy new inventory. We're upgrading the back so that we can do more outside tailoring stuff. Mm-hmm. And the business doesn't cash flow that.
Yeah.
Yet.
Right.
That's a long-term investment. And so I've had to rethink those investments and recognize that it's not going to come out of the business cash now. Mm-hmm. And that's been kind of weird for me.
Yeah. Has being in this business, I mean, you knew you were going to purchase it, but even just from June 1st, has being on this side of it changed your perspective from the bookkeeping side of it as far as maybe those types of things where you're investing in something that is more of a, something that will pay off down the road? Has that changed your perspective a little bit?
Yeah. I much more understand the debt picture. Mm-hmm. and the need for it. I still want to get out of it as fast as possible, right? But it is significantly riskier to take that debt. With my bookkeeping business, I can make big bets and lose the money, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hurt. I mean, it hurts my cash, but I don't have to worry about how am I going to hit that bill. Mm-hmm. With this business, it's a lot more. It's a lot scarier, mm-hmm. and having payroll is a lot scarier too.
Yeah.
So I have more sympathy for my clients. And the other thing is I understand there's some things that my clients have done and I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm telling you, this way is easier. Mm-hmm. And as I'm getting it, I'm realizing because you're rushing, right? You've got to, it just is the natural thing. So I was writing way more checks in the beginning than I liked. And I didn't realize how important keeping track of bills is. I mean, you know that it's important.
Right.
But with my bookkeeping business, it's all automatic. Everything is software. It's monthly. I can pretty much count on it. As I'm buying inventory and as I'm having the tailoring charges and all these other things that are happening, it's not. And so I've had to really nail down that system. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not writing checks now after a month, but in the beginning of the month, in June, it was pretty hectic trying to keep track of all the bills and everything.
Yeah.
So I understand a little bit better some of the pains, but having gone through it, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Even as the business owner, I say it as the bookkeeper, but now as a business owner, I say, man, it frees up so much time. Just like the payroll piece, mm-hmm. 5 minutes a week. The scheduling takes longer, but 5 minutes a week to run payroll is, and my employees are happier, getting paid every week. Anyway, it's worth it.
Yeah.
The system really does work. It does make it worth it.
Yeah. I think that's huge. I think that if I were to start something different, and kind of the pain point that I've got right now in my business is I didn't take the time to set up processes and procedures when I had the time to do it because I was more focused on writing business and making money. Mm-hmm. And so now I don't have the time to do that, but it's very, very necessary that it needs to get done and it needs to be in place. And so I think that's huge. I think that that's probably one of the things that I would do different, and you don't realize how important it is until you don't have time to do it, but you need it.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
And so to that point, because I've got the bookkeeping business and the store, I don't have as much time to think about those things. But in Clockwork, Run Like the Clockwork by Michalowicz, he talks about designing outcomes and taking 10 to 15 minutes a week, whatever you can do. And so we've done that. One of the problems I had in the beginning was I tell my staff, okay, here's the things that we got to happen. And I would just rattle it off and it would freak them out. And all of in my bookkeeping business, everything's in a Asana, it's in a project manager. Here, I'm not on the computer that much.
Yeah.
My staff's never on the computer.
Right.
And so, I took 10 minutes, built a checklist for the day, and then we're running that, and that has been huge for the team and for me. And then it's just a maintenance thing. And so even those 10-minute pieces are saving us time, and it compounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even if you're just your head's in the ground and you can't make it work, finding 10 minutes, systematize one thing.
Yeah, great idea.
It starts compounding.
Great advice. For someone that's looking to get into a retail business and maybe starting their own, what advice would you give them about inventory?
Oof. I don't know that I'm the best for that yet. So actually, I'll give the advice that I got from David Green in the Hobby Lobby. So he started, and it was a tiny inventory of basically beads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said was, we had outstanding variety in what we were in. And so when I think about Hobby Lobby, I think about the massive stores that they have. And there's a tremendous amount of variety.
Yeah.
And they've got a very unique need. But the way they started was being outstanding in one area. And so for us, I took over a store that was already running and humming, and I have to maintain that. But looking at, okay, what are our core features? What are the core products that you have to have inventory of? You have to have the variety. And for us, number one, black suits. Because of funerals and last minute weddings and things like that, we have to have it here so somebody can come in and get it. If somebody comes in and they're looking for a new sport coat, they like to look at a lot of variety. But I can order for that. Most of the time, it's not urgent. They're not going to be, it's not a today.
Sure.
So I think a key part for inventory is knowing what you have to take care of your customers. Mm-hmm. And then all of the other areas that you want to have to grow. We want to grow a lot more into watches. We want to grow our golf line, the business casual, belts, things like that. We want to grow that area. We want to be the one-stop shop. Mm-hmm. But we're going slow so that we can make sure that our core need is taken care of.
I think that's smart.
It's hard.
I worked at Herberger's in college, and so I didn't learn anything when I worked there. I just worked there. And so I think from the retail side of it, there is such a learning curve on just the inventory side of it, but how to price things, keeping up with demand, but not having too much, just keeping track of everything that you've got to know kind of where things are at. It seems like from my side of it, who's never really been involved in that, there's such a learning curve that it's important to know, be good at what you're good at, and don't try to be focused when you're coming into it. So anyway, that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, Tammy and Trish in Hastings have been amazing for inventory piece. I mean, they've spent months with me talking through the inventory, talking about pricing, why they do things. Gary and his team in Lincoln, same thing, and they both run inventory very, very differently. But that mindset and how to take care of people, they've just been phenomenal. If it hadn't been for that, I don't know that we'd be doing that well. And then the other key thing is, as I've read, Hobby Lobby, they count inventory regularly. You just have to be on top of it, and having a POS that will keep you aware of it. And even as a bookkeeper, I can tell you, QuickBooks is not the inventory system. Mm-hmm. Do not do it.
Right.
Find a system that works for your business. You've interviewed Kyle Saylor. They use Printavo. He and I have talked about that in the past, and that helps them manage inventory. You just have to have a system that will work for you, and whatever it costs, it's probably worth it. If you're spending $500 a month on a software to manage your inventory and have it work, and you can trust it, that's
That's an investment.
Probably
It's not an expense.
It's got to be worth it. Otherwise, you're gonna be missing out on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's nothing that takes the place of actually counting it, because we make mistakes. It just happens.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of product too.
Yeah, there's a lot more variety than a person thinks.
Yeah. This may be hard to answer since you just opened June 1st, but what do you wish you were better at already when it comes to this business?
Marketing.
Yeah.
And people bring that up all the time on your podcast. And it's with my bookkeeping business, it was very much people have to have a bookkeeper, and they're going to come to you, and it's a very service intensive, labor intensive, and so you don't want to grow too fast. You can't grow too fast. Here, if I doubled the business, it would be painful, but it's possible. I would just have to make a lot bigger orders, right? And I would have to hire more staff, but the marketing piece, Gary Michaels and Kearney, is so relatively unknown when people think about, and my generation, our generation, we pretty much wore t-shirts and blue jeans forever, from when we were 5 to in our 30s and 40s. And so there's a gap there of education where people are not understanding how suits should fit, how to dress up. And COVID just blew it up even more. And so I need to figure out how to educate better within the community. It hurts me when moms come in and say, I didn't know that I was gonna have to buy a suit. I paid for 4 prom tuxes in the last 2 years, and now I'm buying a suit. I could have saved money. Those things just, I'm not sure how to educate the community on that.
Sure.
So that's what I'm really struggling with. I feel like I got a lot of systems down last month, a lot of inventory. Now it's like, how do I get people aware of what we're doing here? And there's a Gen Z is awesome, right? They get a lot of flack, but I am amazed at the number of Gen Zers that look sharp, that come in and teach me stuff and ask for suits for their birthday.
Really?
They're awesome. There's a couple of guys that are just so cool. And one of them says, a well-tailored suit is as comfortable as anything else I own. And I got it. I wish that I'd gotten that recorded on the Google review.
Yeah.
It's up now. But because people don't realize that. They don't know. When they think of like a wool suit, they think thick and heavy and uncomfortable. And our wool suits are light and amazing.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out how to get that message out into the community. So
it's almost a double-edged sword because you have so much opportunity and things that you can do, but it's almost where do I start?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that you want to cover. You have to be strategic about it, and that's, I've said it dozens of times on this podcast, but social media is great because it's free, but it does take up your time, and you want to make sure that you're utilizing it the right way. And so, if you were walking into a business that was already kind of using social media, and you had a template for what they were doing, and you could just build on top of that, or maybe change things to fit your own, that's one thing. It's great that you have all this opportunity, but it's kind of like, where do I start? And marketing, when you have all this other stuff to do, marketing can sometimes fall by the wayside.
Yeah. So I'm increasing the hours of my staff, so that now I can really focus on crafting those messages and figuring that out, and putting together an Instagram board and trying to figure out how to get the community involvement. I mean, one thing that we're going to do, this wall over here, my wife came up with the name, but we're going to call it Grandpa's Tie Wall. Nice. And it's going to be, I'm not sure how to do it yet, but it's just going to be ties. And anybody can bring in ties and hang them up there. And you bring a tie, you can take a tie. You can donate them, or you can take it. If it gets too many, we'll obviously donate extra ties. And I mean, that will decrease my tie sales, but I think it'll be fun for the community. Yeah. Everybody's got, favorite ties, or ties that meant a lot to them, or I'm not gonna call them heirloom tie, but like, hey, this was the only tie Grandpa ever wore, and I don't want to throw them away. And there's always people needing a tie for whatever. I just think that would be so fun to show that.
That's a great idea.
But I don't have the Facebook page yet or Instagram page to put it up. But yeah, we're gonna have Grandpa's Tie Wall, I think that'll be fun for the community.
Absolutely. Something different. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you could go back to June 1st, or even go back to the day that you walked in here to say, hey, I'd be interested, is there anything you would do different?
If you'd asked me that question a week ago, I would have given a different answer. Anything I would do different? I think, the hard part was it wasn't my store until June 1st. So it would have been awesome if there were things that we're doing now that we could have started before June 1st. And I think the previous owners would have let us do that. But it didn't feel right to make major changes when it wasn't ours yet. I think I would have probably figured out a way to do that. And I think I would have been a little bit more aggressive in the initial investment in the business.
Yeah.
And put more money into changing things. We want to do painting, we want to reorganize stuff like that. And I haven't put the money in yet, and so it's dragging that out.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the big thing.
So, who is doing the seamstress work for you?
Yeah, so Sharon was, she's been the seamstress here forever, I think from the beginning of Gary Michaels and Kearney, and she's awesome. Everybody's afraid that she left or we kicked her out or anything like that. And she really wanted to retire. And what that meant for her was that she didn't want to have to drive to Kearney every day and open the store. She is still our seamstress. She comes in once a week, picks stuff up on Wednesdays, drops stuff off the next Wednesday. So that's been phenomenal. She takes the more complicated stuff. The other seamstress is my wife, who shadowed with her and has done a ton of tremendous tutorials. There's a lady she found, the Sew Show with Shay. Okay. Good luck with that. On YouTube. She's a tailor out of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And that is her business, and she has amazing tutorials. So if anybody's looking to get into tailoring, we want to hire you, and that's a great place to go. So she's another one. And then actually, Brian Bair's been on your podcast, and his daughter is studying fashion, and she's done a bunch of tailoring. So she's working with us this summer and getting a great education, and she's been phenomenal. We tell everybody when they come in, it'll be a week from Wednesday. That way we've got that time for Sharon to pick it up if it's complicated. And we've been turning around, especially last week, we were turning suits around in a day.
Wow. Day
or two. And just an awesome experience for customers. And it's a serious value add. We enjoy that. So I really appreciate our tailors.
Yeah. What's it been like to be involved in this business with your wife?
It's been so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, she was supportive of the bookkeeping business, but there's nothing, she can't see it. It's not tangible. She doesn't care about the dollars and cents. She cares that I'm having fun with spreadsheets, which is saying a lot right there. I mean, most people are not excited about spreadsheets like I am, but it's so fun. A lot of the design and the way we set stuff up is her, and I'm much more about the operations. It's been so fun, and my kids have been really involved. We had family council before we bought it, got everybody's buy-in and interest, and we report to them on the financials of the business. And I tried to follow. So Sam, in his book, he said he made everybody partners, and the kids were partners. Oh, we'll do that. That's great, because that'll help them care about the store, and that won't have to pay them. So they just get money off the profits.
Yeah.
If there are any.
There will be.
But they can't legally be owners. So I haven't figured out how Sam did that. Sam Walton did that. But so we still report to them and what they did, and they have fun stuff. So that belt rack, my two youngest ones built that, and they get excited every time we sell a belt. We built that rack, and they feel like they made that sale.
That's awesome.
It's just fun doing it with my family.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different because I'm here and they're not here as much, and I do miss them because based out of my house, I saw everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So that's been an adjustment for us.
Well, but I think it's important too that if you include them and they understand where you're at and what you're doing, it's different. It may not make it easier, and you may not be as home as much, but it changes their perspective, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's good.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think that's probably a guilt that all business owners feel that have kids, is not being at home maybe as much as they would want to be, especially when you're starting a business and growing a business. I think everyone has that guilt. But I think the approach that you're taking with involving your kids is one that I haven't heard before, but I really like, because I'm sure that they know that they can come in here when they want to, but also they know what you're doing, and they know that it's important to you, and they've got some buy-in too. So
Yeah,
it's a great approach.
That is, thinking back to things I've changed as a bookkeeper, because of my bookkeeping business. As I've worked with business owners, paperwork is terrible and it's a huge struggle for them. And so that's one thing that I've been able to make the paperwork pretty much happen here. So my hours here, after the inventory, getting the initial inventory in was terrible. It was terrible. Those were long days.
Yep.
But after that, as bills come in, I'm taking a picture with my phone, it goes to the accounting software, everything is good. And I know that for a lot of business owners, that's the family time sacrifice. There's the hours at the store that everybody's aware of, and it hurts. But then there's all the hours outside of business hours that they're spending on paperwork. And that's why it is worth it to hire a bookkeeper. That's why it's worth it to get a system to make the paperwork as out of mind as low. What is the word for that? Low time intensive as possible.
Right. Yeah.
Finding ways to do that is it's worth it.
Because there's a lot of people that don't like doing that anyway, and so you may not want to pay for it, but if you don't have to deal with it, but you have to have your financials in order, it's a great investment just to make up front. And it's probably easier to start with a small business when they're starting from the beginning. Yeah. And you can help them on that path.
But you can start it at any time. So like I use, just as an idea, I use Hubdoc, which is a document capture software. I take a picture of a bill, and then once a week I can go on, I see all my bills, I can categorize it and sync it to my accounting software. And it takes 5 to 10 minutes. And then I use Relay as my bank, and they have a bill-based software. I pay $30 a month for it, and all of my bills in my accounting software show up there. And I can click, I want to pay these bills, boom, and I hit pay, and it goes through, and it'll combine bills, and it's done. I'm not printing checks, I'm not writing checks. And if I've got, so for my vendors, we've had some contractors in here, I pay them directly, and it saves so much time. But I'm paying $30 a month for that bill pay. $30, my time is absolutely worth $30. Yeah. You start going through those, and those softwares cost money. Yeah. But they take so much stress off. It's sometimes an effort to get them mapped correctly and set up correctly. But once you do that, it frees up bandwidth to focus on the business, to focus on training, to be with your family. And it's totally worth it. Yeah.
Run your business, don't let it run you. Yeah.
And the paperwork, I think, is the thing that steals, that runs people more than anything else in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
From my perspective.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I know you got to get opening soon, so how can we find out more about the store? And if people have comments or suggestions or ideas for you when it comes to the social media or maybe products or whatever, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so our website is still tied to the Hastings store because they sold just the Kearney location. They still own the Hastings location. So GaryMichaelsNE.com is us and Hastings. We'll be getting a new website soon. Okay. But you can come down here. We're 2118 Central Avenue. Come down anytime. We're open 9:30 to 4:30, 9:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. Okay. 9:30 to 4 on Saturdays. And what was I going to say with that? If you have suggestions, we want to hear them. Absolutely, email them to us. Stop by, and we are offering. So anybody who comes in and says "Good Life," says they heard about us on the Good Life podcast, we do have a 10% discount. Nice. So on anything in the store, from suits to belts to ties, if they mention the podcast, we'll take 10% off, and just we appreciate everybody coming in. And we've been trying to ask, especially our regulars, what don't we have? And the big push is golf wear.
Yeah.
So we're gonna work on bringing in more golf wear.
Awesome.
To just fit what the community needs. As far as I know, we're really the only men's clothing dedicated store in the area, and so we want to take care of that.
Absolutely. What email address can they?
Yeah, so Gary Michaels, Gary M. Kearney at gmail.com is the email address. And yeah, we'll get a Facebook page, we'll get an Instagram, but we just don't have those yet.
Got it. Well, when you do, we'll be able to promote those for you as well and all that good stuff. So this is a lot of fun.
Thanks. It's been great.
I've been in here a couple times. It's awesome to just kind of hear your story and kind of see how things are going. I can just genuinely tell you are excited about this. And so that's a lot of fun to see too. Just about the experience that you're trying to provide and how you got the family involved and all the things that you're planning on doing. You can just feel the excitement. So I wish you nothing but the best, and you're going to do great.
Thanks. Can I tell one story?
Yeah.
I think you think about that, the excitement. So we had men, as I said, I don't like shopping generally, and men generally don't. And so there was 1 week where we had 3 different guys that sent their wives in to try to lay the groundwork. They wanted to spend as little time as possible in here. And it's understandable. And they came in and the wife's like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but he's over at the shoe store. And Redmond Shoes is a great neighbor.
Yep.
And so then they come in and we get them fitted and we're talking with them. And by the end, they're not quite dancing out of the store. But one of them, his wife's, you're smiling. This is actually kind of fun. We had 3 in 1 week of guys that just did not want to come in. And then they left and go, you know what, that was pretty fun. And that just, I needed that the first month, right? Yeah. There was a lot of pressure, there's a lot of fear, and making that difference. Those guys are just, that was just awesome.
It's the little things
that
make a big difference.
It keeps you going, and I just got to figure out how to get more guys to know that it can be a lot of fun to look good.
Absolutely. Well,
thank you.
If you're looking for a suit or shoes or jeans or just clothes in general, come on down, see what they've done here at Gary Michaels. They've made some great improvements. They've got new products coming in. Just come check it out. See what you think, and maybe you'll be dancing out here too.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cory.